No, this has got to be race. That's got to be. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the D. We've had a lot of technical issues in the last hour. Eco's Zoom just wasn't working, so you basically had to re-download it. But we're back and we're here. Second day of international break was today, so we're going to go over some of the matches. I want to start off with the Greece-Spain match, which I think we all favored Spain in that. Is this worrisome for Spain, drawing to Greece?
No, not really. I think that kind of right now, like kind of the most important thing about this whole qualification process is just getting qualified, and kind of the secondary like not reason, but a secondary look of all of this is just to get maybe some younger players some experience and to try out different things. And I think that tying to Greece, which obviously I think most people would favor Spain in that, especially because it was quite a strong Spain lineup. It was one of their stronger lineups that they can put out. And obviously it's a bit worrisome, but not really. I don't think so. They've got quite a while to kind of pick it up and get it back together. It's still Spain. They're never going to be like the worst. Because they are Spain. They've got some really class players out on the pitch. Obviously, Morata scoring, I think, is good because I feel like even though he does play for Juve, I feel like he's a very good striker right now, really developing confidence alongside Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't see this as a bad thing, though. I think that this is okay.
I agree with Luke. I really don't think this is a big deal. But it's also something that I'm not too surprised about because Spain's team, they're not amazing. Listen, there are a lot of veterans on the team. A lot of the older players are on Spain's team. So I don't really expect them to do much in the World Cup. Obviously, they're going to go further than most teams, but I still don't think they're going to do much. But I mean, France drew this week as well. Nobody's really worried about them. They're still I'd say the most powerful team in the tournament. Don't tell me you think Belgium is more powerful than them.
I don't know.
I think so.
No chance.
You could make a case for Portugal.
3 players.
I know, but 3 of the best players in the world.
Nations League. I mean, Portugal won the Nations League in 2019 more recently than France won the World Cup in 2018. I mean, that does say something, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather win the World Cup or the Nations League?
Yeah.
That's not the point, though.
Yeah, but I see Aiden's point how France recently isn't very proven, and Portugal is. And I think that Portugal's got a lot of talent. They're not better than France because France really does have the best. But it should be. I think it'll be interesting. I think this will be interesting.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that France is going to win the World Cup again. It's not very often you see repeats in the World Cup. I mean, it is 4 years, so it's a long difference or a big difference in terms of time. France is going to make it far into the World Cup, but I guess it's way too early to tell as we are only in the qualifiers. Eco was mentioning age in Spain and how a lot of the teams are playing their older guys or playing their B teams, if you will. An older guy that made his return to international football today, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, back with the Sweden squad. Sweden squad. Sounds super weird. And he provided an assist to the only goal of the game, a 1-0 win over Georgia. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, is he going to play in the World Cup? And if he does, what impact is he going to make for Sweden?
I mean, he's definitely playing in the World Cup. Looking at the season he's having, with AC Milan the second half of the season he had last year, he's playing. Honestly, this is one of the best seasons of his life, I'd say. He's playing amazing at the age of 39. It'd be a mistake for him not to play in the World Cup. Sure, you could say it's kind of a waste because Sweden isn't really going to do anything, and it's only maybe, facilitating an injury or it could be more what's the word? It could be worse for him than beneficial for him. And so, but I still think he wants to go out there and represent his country, and has the skill to do it. I mean, he's played incredible the past 2 years.
And think about this: World Cup 2018, Sweden made it pretty far. They definitely surpassed the expectations, losing to England in, was it the third place playoff? So Sweden finished fourth place in that World Cup. Maybe that was why Zlatan wanted to make his return. So adding that key component to Sweden's team in 2022 could potentially get them far into the tournament again.
Yeah, and I think that Zlatan especially is a player with a lot of pride of where he comes from and kind of what he's accomplished. And I think that playing for his country, he's obviously played for them quite a bit, but I think that this kind of all comes back to like his pride. He's like, I'm kind of like in a few years, 3-4 years, he's not probably going to be playing much. So I think that he's kind of, well, I can, let's do this. Like, let me kind of put the best foot forward and get Sweden as far as I can. You know, obviously he's got that famous quote, I put Sweden on the map. And I think that he's not going to kind of just give up on Sweden. And I think that's, it is, in my opinion, the right decision that he's making. I think it's really important to play for your country. And I think this is positive for him. But on the other side, you do have like, he's getting a bit older and injuries they're going to happen at some point. We saw this earlier in the season. He got injured and he was out for longer maybe than he should have been. And that does scare me a little bit because I love watching Zlatan. But also, I mean, him playing for Sweden also just means more Zlatan. So no complaints.
And it is like what Iko was saying about how he's in a really good run of form at 39 years old. Why wouldn't you go play for Sweden, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, do it while you can. You know, injuries, like you just said, and he's dealt with, you know, this season. As you get older, the injuries become more consistent, and the time that you spend away from the game because of those injuries becomes longer. So this is his last World Cup. We know that for sure. He's not going to be playing at age 44. Look at Iko in the
Okay, 44 is pushing it for a goalie.
If there's a man who's gonna do it, it is Zlatan.
No, it's going to be the
about
Japanese guy who's
Miura?
53
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
Kazumura. You never know. Zlatan might do that. He might go to the Swedish league and play into his
He's the
50s.
Gordie Howe of, you wouldn't know Gordie Howe. I should stop talking. He's a hockey player. Never mind. I don't know why I even brought up a hockey player, but
Zlatan does not age.
he does not. He's a lion.
Yeah,
Buckle.
lion. Yeah,
That's what he called
Lions.
himself, didn't he?
Yeah.
So going over to one of our nations, I'm referring to Italy. Obviously, along with the United States, did not make the World Cup in 2018. Looking a lot more promising in 2021. Probably going to make the World Cup in 2022. What are some expectations you have for the rest of the qualifiers, Iko?
I mean, I'd say we have one of our strongest teams this year, you know, besides back when we won the World Cup. You know, it's a team has a lot of veterans, but also a lot of youngsters that have proven themselves all over Europe. And I think that we could make a pretty good run this year. I don't see us going too far because I think one thing that we lack is depth, but I think we'll definitely qualify, definitely make it, you know, past the round of 16. I don't know where we're going to go from there. It all depends on who we get matched up with. I think if we're facing, you know, France or Belgium or Portugal, those are going to be more difficult. But if we get, I feel like we could take out an England squad. I'm not going to lie. I think we've got the
Agree
power
with
for that.
Yeah, I think that one of the strong points that Iko mentioned of Italy's squad this year is that they've got a really solid mix of veterans and youngsters. Obviously, you've got a lot of veterans like Bonucci, and who else?
Buffon.
Immobile.
Yeah,
Buffon
Immobile.
doesn't start. He rides.
No. Well, you guys have Donnarumma now,
Donnarumma.
but I think that you've got some really kind of prospering youngsters like Chiesa, who's really coming out and proving himself, which I think is really good, and hopefully he'll be able to get some minutes for Italy. And I think that that's really important for young players to be able to play at really what is the top level. And I could see Italy doing quite well in the World Cup, obviously, if they make it, which I also think that they will. I think that they can be a strong team this year.
And it's an interesting point that Eco brings up about lack of depth, because it is going to matter once you face off against teams like France and Germany and Spain who have depth for days. I mean, that's such an important thing. Uh, you say that you guys could beat an England squad who also is a team that has a lot of depth, just like the big guys like France and Germany and whatever. Um, and another thing with the age, you said it's a mix of youngsters and a mix of old players. Is that going to negatively affect you guys in the tournament? The mix of old and young players and the mix of and the lack of depth.
No, I think if anything, it's going to help us because you have the young players who obviously have more energy, can play longer, less risk of injury. But you also have the veterans who have been there before, who have proven themselves all across Europe, who are really just going to help them. And I think we saw that a lot today. We saw a very veteran defense with a young 22-year-old goalkeeper in Donnarumma. He played, I'd like to say, an amazing game. Doesn't surprise me. But you also saw like Immobile, who's playing up top. He had a young midfield as well, and then he, as an older veteran, playing up top, and he facilitated the ball amazingly, played amazingly, scored for us. So I think if anything, it helps us to have that mix of young and old. You see it with AC Milan as well. Our whole team is young, and then you toss in just a couple veterans, and they're there for the leadership. They're there to help them out, and I think we're going to see something very similar with Italy.
Italy should be good going forward, I think. Yeah. I believe them. I believe in the boys.
You call them the boys?
Yeah, they're the boys.
You're an American. Come on now.
Yeah, but also I
He
believe
wants to support a good team.
Wait, what's the nation he said he was last podcast? Apparently he's
What
is it?
Polish.
Polish.
We
No, it
won.
wasn't Polish. You were saying, I forget which one it was. You said like English
Nigerian?
wasn't your first language or something like that.
Oh yeah, English is for sure my first language, but but I think Italy could be good. I think I have a belief in them that they'll do well.
I'd like to see them do well, just because we didn't get to see them, play at all in the 2018
Yeah.
World Cup. Speaking a little bit about England, they had a giant win over San Marino, which, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not the geography whiz here, but pretty sure is a tiny little thing in Italy, right?
Little island.
Yeah, it is. I'd like to quickly say though,
Yep.
San Marino has not won a game in like their past, I think like 30, and then their most recent game they got a draw, and it was like the first time they had scored in like 30 games. And as soon as Southgate saw that, he was like, "Oh, I'm putting 5 in the back."
I did see that. Which is hilarious.
I mean, why are you playing 5 in the back versus them? It beats me.
We know why he's playing 5 at the back. It's because this is a training game for him. He's not trying to like park the bus against San Marino. He's doing this so we could get a better feel of what, experimenting with wing backs, which I do want to talk about. Obviously, both Chelsea players were the starting wing backs today: Reece James, Ben Chilwell, and then of course Mason Mount playing at the 10. All had assists in the game. One that I do want to point out, one player in particular, is Reece James. In his current form at the World Cup in 2022, does Reece James start over Wan-Bissaka and Alexander Arnold?
No, I think if you do that, England erupts. Listen, he's good. I'm not taking him over Wan-Bissaka or Trent.
I'm not taking him over Trent. Maybe over Wan-Bissaka going forward, just because Wan-Bissaka's that bit more defensive. So maybe he would play as a right back, not a right wing back. But I think I would take Trent over Reece James. But also, we have no clue what's to come in the future. In the next 2 years, they could get even a newer, better right back. So
I disagree with Luke. I think I would take him over Wan-Bissaka as well. And what I'd love to see, but I know will not happen, and they could have actually tested it in this game, was Wan-Bissaka at right back and then play Trent as like more of a DM. I feel like they should do that because Trent would be an amazing DM and Wan-Bissaka is amazing right back.
I've been saying this for the longest time that I think Trent should be playing in the middle. We've talked about this on podcasts earlier. It's out there on the internet somewhere. And I think that he should be playing in the middle. But also I think that kind of going back to the whole depth idea, that Italy is missing. I think that England has got some really good depth. We saw today, even like the substitutions that they were making, they weren't going down in level. They were just replacing, which I think is going to be really, really important for this England side, and also kind of piggybacking off of the Italy point with the youngsters and kind of the older guys. I think England's got something that's somewhat similar. Obviously, they don't have as many older guys, but I think that they've got this really young core where they've got people like Phil Foden and Saka, and they've got like Jesse Lingard, who's not the youngest, but he's doing very well right now. And I think that they've got older players like Harry Kane, who are going to go in and set an example. And I think that's really important for a team that is looking, because I think that they want to do really well, and all these stupid Spurs players want to actually win a trophy. And I think that this can be a team that I can see doing quite well this year.
I want to go back to the original AWB TAA Reece James thing. I could definitely see a toss up between Trent and Reece James. I think Reece James has performed better than Trent this season. Obviously, Trent
Also,
hasn't had
Liverpool's doing poorly.
exactly. So
Yeah,
let's take that into consideration. Individually, it's hard to say, but look at the formation that Southgate used. If he's going to use this same formation at the World Cup, there's no chance AWB is going to be a right wing back. So it's going to be between James and Alexander-Arnold. And James, again, it's against San Marino, but he's proved himself in this game, not only this game, defensively and attacking, but in the Premier League this season.
Where does Kyle Walker fit in all this? Does he play center back?
Nowhere.
Kyle
Walker can ride the bench.
Ride the bench. I'm sorry. I like Kyle Walker. I think he's really fast. I think he's arguably the fastest wing back they have, but I'm not putting him over the dangerous crosses of Reece James and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Well, if you're playing a back three, do you play him as a center back?
You play Stones,
Connor Cody,
and then
Walker.
I honestly put Maguire. I put Maguire.
No, Stones, Maguire for sure are getting
Maguire.
And then
I think Eric Dyer gets the third spot
over
I'd play
Cody.
Eric Dyer in the
Maybe.
middle.
I think so.
Okay, so who are their center backs?
Gary Cahill. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so okay, I'm just looking at their lineup.
They also have
Cody,
the
Stone,
Everton. Don't they have the Everton?
Mings,
Are you talking about Mason
yeah,
Holgate?
Mings.
Mings.
Mings. Eric Dyer, Maguire, Shaw, Declan Rice can play center back. Phillips can play center back. So they've got
Phillips?
Yeah.
No, he's gonna play natural center back.
No,
So
I know,
that much
but, like,
selection.
But they've got options.
Hold
for
on, I would.
sure.
Okay, Tyrone Mings is not starting over.
No,
Cody.
but it's options.
No, you have options. That's the thing we're talking about. We have depth, or they have depth.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. I mean, they're just so stacked that there's gonna be so many players. Like Lingard's probably not gonna play a whole lot in the World Cup. If I'm being honest.
That's a mistake. Jay Lings is a baller.
He did play right winger today, to be fair. He did play right wing.
He had 2 chances to score 2 goals, and he unfortunately missed. But he played a
He had
decent.
an assist, right?
I'd like to
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about Jesse Lingard for a second. Obviously, poor. He's been poor for Man U. Has been given the chances. Gets a loan out to West Ham. He's performing incredible. What do Man United do from here? Do they sell him, or do they try and bring him back and hope that his form continues at Manchester United, even though they have Bruno?
Okay, so I think that I'm just going to use the example of Dean Henderson here, because it's what has kind of turned out to be a very similar situation where he's not really getting these chances. He gets loaned out, does like really amazing for Sheffield, and then comes back and just hasn't been able to get back to that level. And now his price is just going down, which really sucks because he is really good. But I don't want to see this happen with Jesse Lingard. I want them to sell him. And I think that it's time that he gets out of Manchester. I think that it's time that he finds a true starting spot in the Premier League that's going to be consistent for him, that he's going to start every game, and that he's really going to be able to kind of keep this form, because right now he's really fun to watch, because we haven't seen Jesse Lingard be this good in a really long time. And it's kind of refreshing to know that he could just kind of go to West Ham and go do his thing, which gives me a little hope that maybe he'll be able to do that again next year and hopefully at West Ham.
You brought up Dean Henderson, and I found that to be very interesting because recently he's been playing a lot with De Gea out, and obviously he's gotten a lot of chances and he just has not been able to perform. So maybe, it is the right decision to not give him the playing time, because even versus AC Milan in the first leg, he should have definitely saved that Kier header. I mean, I was so happy that he didn't, but he made like 4 awful mistakes that game. He continues to make these mistakes. I think his season at Sheffield was one season wonder, kind of a fluke.
I think Sheffield, their entire season as a whole, was a one season wonder. Obviously, look at them now. Sander Berge was supposed to be like a next big thing. Where is he now? I mean, he dealt with injury a little bit, but come on, he's obviously not performing the way we thought he was going to. The striker crisis and Sheffield has been awful. We know that Rian Brewster, it was supposed to be the next big thing, and he's not doing much. Ethan Ampadu from Chelsea, also one of the next big thing, center back. He's not doing anything. Dean Henderson, in my opinion, should have been loaned out for another season. I know why Manchester United didn't do it. It's because Sergio Romero, their backup goalkeeper, left. In terms of Lingard, back to your original question, I think West Ham is a great fit for him, and I think they should try and buy him. And if not, he should stay at I say mid-table team because that's what I see West Ham as. Normally, they're a mid-table team. So I think Lingard would fit better at an outside the top 6 team, and he should definitely complete a move there because Man United just wastes a lot of talent.
Yeah, and he's going to sit behind Bruno and Pogba. He realistically, like, no matter how well he plays, he's not going to start over either of them, which sucks, but it's just kind of the facts. Like, we all know that he's not starting over Pogba and he's not starting over Bruno, and I don't think that he wants to come off a really good season and go be a backup. Obviously Manchester United is a really good club right now, but no one wants to be a backup, especially when they're coming off kind of the season of their life, which is what Lingard is having right now. And I think that that'd be just kind of potential wasted.
Speaking of potential wasted, Aiden mentioned this, Manchester United tend to waste a lot of potential. I think one of the players that they're wasting right now, who knows what they're planning on doing in the future, Amad Diallo. He came on one game versus AC Milan, immediately makes a difference, scores. You don't see him again. He's just riding the bench. He's back to riding the bench. Why isn't he playing more? He's proven to be amazing, and he can be that striker that right now they don't have that can score, that can finish. I mean, they have Rashford, who's good.
Ice cold Tony.
Yeah, exactly. Replace Tony. Why are you giving Tony chances when you have Amad Diallo, who you spent almost 50 million on, and you're just letting him sit on the bench?
Yeah, I think that he's going to be one of those players who's just going to have to wait for his turn, which sucks because, as Iko said, he came on and made a difference. And it sucks that when a player gets their opportunity, and he really took advantage of it, that they don't get that second opportunity. And I do hate that. And he has been like rumored to be this amazing kid, and he's only played once. And I just think that this kind of goes back to just Manchester United as a club. They just kind of stick to their players that sell. They stick to the players that are big money, big name. And I think that right now Diallo isn't quite that, obviously, but he just hasn't been able to prove himself like Jesse Lingard. And they just kind of sit there now, and he's just probably there. I'm still getting paid. I'm training with the team. I'm not playing at all. Like, he either needs to get loaned out, or he needs to go somewhere, or he needs to start playing. And I think that's important that he starts playing.
And we can't forget Diallo's been beasting out in the PL2 for Manchester United's academy team. And I know, Luke, you said in an earlier podcast, I don't remember which one it was, but you're a big fan of the U21 route, right? It's good to just get the minutes under your belt and that type of thing. Iko, when you were talking about waste of talent in United, I thought you were going to bring up Donny van de Bench, because he's just been...
That's another one.
Boys, hold on. I need to say something.
Go on then.
Aiden brought it up and it reminded me. I saw that it could be 100% fake. Donny van de Beek wants out of Man U, and you know who's very interested?
No.
AC Milan, baby.
Okay,
I don't.
wait.
Hold on.
He would fit in well there.
No, he wouldn't. We have so
Really?
many. We have so many midfielders. Benacer is back now. Tonali's going to be riding the bench. We do not need Van de Beek unless we don't renew Hakan's deal, which could happen. So if we can't renew his deal, then go for Van de Beek. But for now, do not waste the money.
Okay. Well, we're on the topic of Dutch midfielders from the Premier League on the move.
Wijnaldum?
Yes, to Barcelona. I'd just like to say I really like this.
I don't mind it.
I like it because obviously we're seeing Sergio Busquets is getting older. And obviously he's probably one of the most underrated
World
centermen
class.
of all time.
Oh yeah.
And I think that Wijnaldum moving there, and obviously Wijnaldum's not this like super young kid, but he's pretty consistent when he plays. Obviously, he doesn't score a lot. He doesn't assist a lot. His stats don't really back him up. But like when you watch Liverpool and he's playing, he kind of just always plays well. And I think that that's good. And he's probably going to get paired with Frankie de Jong, which I think is also good for him. And I really like this transfer if it happens, if it's all ifs. But that's a transfer that I would like to happen because he's a good player and I don't like good players riding the bench.
Also, just a quick comment on Gini Wijnaldum. You say he's very consistent. Jurgen Klopp came out in an interview and said that Gini Wijnaldum is the most consistent player for Liverpool this season, and it's not even close. So
Liverpool's been up and down as a team, so that's not the hardest title to get. But I
compliment from the gaffer. It is what it
for
is.
Sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think Barcelona, if they do what they're saying they're going to do, could have one of the best summers and could return to their glory, because as of right now, if Messi stays
and they get Sergio
Aguero. They're in talks with him, and it seems that that's actually going to happen, that he's going to go to Barcelona. If Aguero goes to Barcelona, I'm saying Messi is staying because they're best friends. They want to play together. There's no question. The only way he's going to Barcelona is if Messi stays. They're getting Wijnaldum. They're also getting, they're going to probably stock up in the center back department. This team could be back to their glory days from 2 years ago. So,
Yeah, I think that they do need center backs is going to be a really important. One of the transfers I was seeing, I want to say it was Kimpembe that they were looking at. I could be fully wrong. It was one of the center backs from the French league that they were looking to buy. But correct me if I'm wrong. And then another big transfer that we've kind of been seeing circulate about has been Raphael Varane to PSG. Which I would like to say I like that. I think it's time for him to get out of Real. He's kind of been really meh at Real, kind of messing up when it hurts the most for them. And going to PSG kind of for any player is good. So that's my thoughts.
I'd just like to say very quickly, I do not like that happening because thinking in FIFA terms, the strong link of Mbappe to Neymar to Varane, that makes me want to cry.
To Bellerin next year as well.
No, you're stuck with him. All right, relax.
So if Kimpembe leaves PSG, then I think it's a good move for Varane to go because then he teams up with Marquinhos and that. But if Kimpembe stays, then no need for Varane to go and compete for a spot when he's already got a spot at Real Madrid for now. We don't know. Going back to some international games, I just want to I want to touch on a few of the lesser known ones, the smaller ones, and just get your guys' opinions because there are some really exciting games, underratingly
There's
exciting
one I want to
games.
bring up. There's one I want to bring up.
Okay, we'll see if it comes
up.
The
Serbia match.
No.
I was going to start off with
Tadic because I believe he had 3 assists. I think he's very good. He is very good.
Yeah.
I watched the highlights from that match, and he was just creating, just slipping people like it was nothing, which I just thought was so impressive. And I always forget that he plays for Ajax,
right?
Because it's just he's like kind of older and plays for Ajax, which is like a bit odd. But I think that he's amazing.
He's a fantastic player, and when he was at Ajax, or sorry, when he was in his prime, I guess you could say at Ajax, that one season where they made it so far in the Champions League, he was their most underrated player because he was being overshadowed by De Jong, De Ligt, that type of thing. I do want to touch on one Scotland Austria, 85th minute equalizer from the Scottish Zidane, John McGinn. Can Scotland qualify for their first World Cup since '98? Is that something that's in the picture?
I think so.
Tierney, Robertson.
I mean,
Gilmore.
sadly, their two best players are in the same position, so they can
Billy
actually-
Gilmore, who will be
Billy
more mature
Gilmore.
at
Who
the end of
else?
2022. Eco's just a Chelsea hater, so don't mind him. Yeah.
You
If he
can't
played for Milan, he's the next big
you
Scottish.
can't, you
star.
can't bring up Billy Gilmore when we're talking about Robertson and
He's their third best player. I guess. I mean, he's better.
Tierney.
I have him than John McGinn over John McGinn.
They've got a goalkeeper too. Who's that goalkeeper? Like Aston Villa's backup. I think.
Well, he's a backup for a reason.
He's back for-
Martinez, one of the best goalies in the league.
He's a back, but he's.
I
I'd
know,
rather
I know.
have who's the guy from Portsmouth, McGillivray. I know him because of
I
career
have
mode.
no
Parker
clue.
and I love him. He was great. He's fantastic on FIFA 20. I don't know if he is in real life.
I'd like that, obviously, but also I'm a Tierney stan, so
course.
I'd love to
Okay,
watch more
don't
Tierney. But
You're a Tierney stan.
yeah,
It's a bit girly, isn't it?
he's the best. He's best left back in the Prem.
No.
Stop it. Get,
Ever. I'll never.
come on. Enough
right.
with that.
Talking about underrated teams, I
Yeah.
want to go to Turkey, Netherlands. I mean, what a performance! My boy Hakan. I mean, goal and an assist. Obviously overshadowed by the hat
Yilmaz.
trick, which should be. Yeah, it was an amazing play. But I want to talk about We'll focus on Netherlands. I mean, this was a team that didn't they go to the final? No, almost no semifinals.
Final of Nations League.
Yeah, finals
Yeah.
of Nations League. A very dominant team. Obviously didn't have Virgil, but besides that, their entire starting lineup was playing, and they just got decimated by Turkey. I mean, there was no competition at all. The entire game was controlled by Turkey.
I think we're seeing a lot of that in these qualifications, which sucks, but they're also just kind of treating them as just qualify, which is okay. It kind of is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay. They'll qualify hopefully. Because I like a lot of the Dutch players. And they've got some really good young talent, which I always like to watch young talent. So hopefully they'll qualify.
And keep in mind, the Netherlands were one of those big teams that didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup, along with Italy, of course.
Why you
My
keep
opinion, the
bringing that
best
up?
game.
Just attacking Eco today.
Every time he talks about it, he just goes like Italy.
Well, you should be happy that I'm calling you guys a big team. I've got the Italy jersey in the back, by the way. All I'm saying is that you hate on Chelsea all the time, so I thought I should just hate on Milan and Italy as much as possible because you're about to hate on me in about 5 minutes when I bring up the United States. Anyway, just want to touch on, you guys know, maybe because of FIFA, the Romanian icon, Hagi, right?
Hagi.
George
Okay.
Hagi. So his son plays for Rangers, obviously one of the best teams in Europe for right now. George is the legend.
Okay, yeah.
Giannis is the son. He scored the winner after coming on 9 minutes earlier against North Macedonia, 3-2. That's just a small one. But in my opinion, the most underrated / best game of today's qualifiers, at least, was Robert Lewandowski and Poland, 3-3 against Hungary. That was an exciting game. Iko would love to know that Krzysztof Piatek got on the score sheet.
No,
I don't
it
know if
wouldn't.
he's still a big
snake.
fan of that guy.
He's a snake.
He's a snake.
I love
Um,
Lewandowski.
Lewandowski scored the 82nd something, 80 something
It was
minute,
low 80s.
low
yeah.
80 equalizer, 3-3. Fantastic game. And then one where Iko gets to make fun of me now, and Luke could probably make fun of me too. But I
Oh, I
do
will.
want to talk a little bit about the American game today. USA Jamaica 4-1.
Whatever.
I just want to dissect it a little bit. Serginho Dest,
Banger.
fantastic.
He had a
Scores his
great
first
goal. He had a great
I think
Thank you.
okay, so I watched I didn't watch the whole game,
Mm-hmm.
but from what I saw, Dest was playing he was obviously playing on the left, which is not his natural side.
Okay.
But he was playing very well. Like every time he got the ball, he was
Yeah.
just moving it like beautifully. Great runs. I've got good hopes. Good hopes for the future with him.
He was my man of the match today, actually, I think. I'm not sure who actually won the man of the match.
Probably,
I would probably
was-
be legit because he scored twice, but it was like a final 10 minutes. He had a good game, still showing that he can play. Your brother, Luke, would be happy to know that Aronson scored as well. 2 goals in his first 3 caps for the USA. But I do want to focus on the other side. I want to talk about Jamaica. So there have been a list of players that have been applying for Jamaican passports to try and play for the national team. I'm going to read out a list. Mikel Antonio, Damari Gray, Isaac Hayden, Nathan Redmond, and Yvonne Toney, who's the leading goal scorer in the championship. Can Jamaica become a really good team if they end up getting most of these guys?
Yvonne Toney is sick.
Fantastic.
They
Yeah.
also have a very underrated player as well, Eric Bailly. Oh, not Eric. Hold on.
Whoa.
Whoa,
Leon
Not
Bailey.
Eric Bailly. Yeah, Leon
Leon Bailey. It's close name.
the-
Close name.
the right winger. I think he's an incredible talent. He's having a great season as well. If you can add a couple more players to create a more powerful attack, I feel like they could definitely become not a team that goes far, but a solid team.
Yeah, for sure going to be interesting.
I think the U.S. is going to qualify, and so is Italy. Look at this. 2 teams
Better.
that didn't make it are going to come now and qualify for the World Cup. I hope
Look at us. Look
By the
at
way,
us.
the USA can beat, and this is a crazy statement, but the USA can beat Italy just based off of, remember in the
Off of luck?
2006. No, that's what I'm saying. With luck. No, with
okay.
luck.
Okay.
USA beat Spain in the Confederations Cup, made it to the final, lost to Brazil. They beat Spain, who was like the number 1 team, who ended up winning the World Cup the next year. USA drew against England in the World Cup. Rob Green may have thrown the ball in the goal, basically.
It's okay.
USA can
Win.
win by a fluke, and if we're gonna fluke win anybody, it's gonna hopefully be against Italy, because that would be amazing. So our game today, guys, it's not really a game. We had this thing earlier a few episodes ago, where we take a question from one of our friends / followers, and this one comes from across the country, all the way from New York, with our friend named Zihan. So I'm gonna show the clip to you guys so you can see, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
play
give
it
us
close
a
to
little,
the
give
mic
us
so
a
the
little
voice
play,
can-
man.
My question for the boys at Inside the D is basically, how does a newbie like me, per se, get into watching soccer competitively and just understand all the intricate details of it and catch myself up on what's been happening in the league as of late and before even? And how did you guys even get engrossed into soccer like this? Like, you guys have a really big passion for it. I'm just wondering, like, where did that stem from?
Wonderful question, Zihan.
Yeah,
Luke,
great
let's
question.
hear it.
So I'm actually going to start with the second part of the question, just because it's a bit of a quicker answer. For me, soccer has just always been a thing in my family. My dad just like grew up playing soccer out in LA, and he's just surrounded me in soccer really my whole life. I played competitive soccer my whole life. So as both these boys know, like soccer is kind of like what I like breathe, and is like almost everything I do. So it's kind of like just like for me has always just been like a major factor in my life. And then to answer the kind of first part, I would definitely start with watching the Premier League. As I think most people would. I would pick a team. Just pick a random team. Don't pick a team that's like top 5, please. But just pick a team, get a jersey, start supporting. Try to watch as many games as you can. Obviously, you're not going to wake up at like 4 a.m. if you're just starting to watch. But I would just try to watch as much soccer as possible. Kind of engross yourself in the sport. Just watch as much as you can. Watch YouTube videos. Watch every single game that you can. Is the number one thing that I would say is like most important. And then also try to get on the field and play it, because it helps you understand the game just that much more.
That's what I was going to say. That's how I sort of got into the game of soccer or football, is I played at a young age. Luke, you said that it was in your family ever since you were younger. Your dad was a big fan, played as well. I'm the first one in my family to care about this sport. My family hates soccer. I mean, my grandpa, never fails to insult it every time I see him. Oh, it's just a bunch of guys running around kicking a ball. Because my family's all about football, basketball, baseball, all that type of thing. So I was the first one in my family. I'm not really sure how that worked out. I like to blame it on the 2010 World Cup in South Africa because that is the first tournament where I watched every single game. One of my idols, David Villa, played for Spain, the winning side in that tournament. So that's how I sort of got into it. My advice to you as a newbie, like you said, getting into the sport of soccer is, I would agree, watch the Premier League. You could watch any league in Europe. It doesn't matter. I would suggest the Premier League, but it could be any of them. And pick a team, learn about the players, learn about the club's history, and watch this team every single week. The more you watch it, the more you're going to understand the game, the more you're going to develop a passion for that team. I chose Chelsea when I was younger, and now I'm the most passionate Chelsea fan that you can think of. So pick a team and stick with that team, and you'll become a super fan and you'll develop a passion. And when you have a passion for this sport, I mean, it's unlike anything else. It'll make you the happiest person alive. I strongly suggest doing something like that.
I mean,
Nico.
mine, I've explained it a lot on this podcast, but it's from my brother, who got it from like all my family in Italy. Obviously, growing up, super like connected with our Italian family. They taught us all about soccer. My brother and I started supporting AC Milan because it was like my uncle who loved them, and so then we just watch every game. We used to watch every game together. I still watch every single game. It's just like a part of my life, and it also keeps me connected to my Italian culture, which is very nice. And what I'd say to become a fan and start watching the sport more, I'd go and pick a lower side team, or even a team like at the start of, not at the start, but when football first came back from coronavirus, and the Bundesliga was the only league that was playing.
My boys at Hoffenheim.
No, our group chat, we all were like, okay, everyone pick a team in the Bundesliga. And so we all just picked random teams to support while they were the only ones. And I thought that was the most fun thing, because this is some random team that I've never followed before. And I just started to like love them. So I'd say go pick some random team. Don't pick like a well-known team like City or like Juventus, Arsenal, whatever. Go pick some random team, start to follow them, and then, like Luke said, try and play it, because playing it helps you understand it. The sport's so much better.
And to add on to what we've kind of all been saying is, I would also, because my brother's actually doing this right now, and he's a massive soccer fan, and he's out in Wisconsin right now with a bunch of kids who like kind of know what soccer is, and he's really teaching them all about the sport. And I think it's really important when you're first getting into the sport to watch it with someone who understands and cares about it. It's going to make it not only so much more fun, because then you're going to be in a really nice, like intense environment when you're watching the games, but it's also, if you have questions, you don't have to like go to Google, look them up, and you'll get like a meh answer. And normally people who love soccer will talk about soccer for hours on end with anyone they can. It's just like, it's like a lifestyle to so many people because they just care about the sport that much.
And like what Iko was saying, don't pick, Chelsea, Man United, Barcelona, Liverpool, Real Madrid. Pick a team that's maybe struggling right now. I mean, when, like Iko said, when the Bundesliga came back, the German teams, I chose Werder Bremen, and it was very exciting because I'm not going to say we, but the team that I was supporting in the Bundesliga, Werder Bremen, won the relegation playoff to stay in the Bundesliga. They're not the best team. They're one of the worst. So it's really exciting. So my biggest advice, again, is to pick a team and don't change it. Never change that team.
Never.
A big tip I'd also say is, do not pick a dying club. Do not pick a dying club.
So don't be Arsenal.
Yeah, don't go to Arsenal. All right, don't go to maybe Barcelona. We don't really know yet. You want a team that has a future, that has a lot of young talent as well.
Or
so
pick a player.
You have stuff to look forward to, instead of being like Luke, who just has to watch his team.
It's unfortunate, but he's loyal. He's loyal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We suck and we know it. But I kind of another thing is, or what I know a lot of people have tend to do, pick a player. If you really like a player, not like Neymar or Mbappe, but pick like a Jesse Lingard and just kind of follow this player along where he's going. Which is kind of a really interesting way, because we've got some friends at school who are Armenian, and they just follow Mkhitaryan wherever he goes. And I've always thought that that's kind of like an interesting way to watch the game because you get, especially because Mkhitaryan gets transferred quite a lot, but you get a kind of taste in every league, which is kind of just exposing you that much more to the sport because, like Aiden said, it was refreshing when we were just watching the Bundesliga because really none of us had ever really gotten into and watched the Bundesliga. And it's refreshing to kind of have to relearn all of that about a new club, a totally different style of play, which we all kind of found really interesting.
Zihan, all this stuff is going to help you, man. So I hope you take this into consideration. Another great way to learn about the sport and love the sport is to tune in every week to Inside the D and to watch the Inside the D podcast. More exciting episodes coming soon. Luke, what's that drip you got on right now? Where did we get that? Bonfire.com/inside the D. That does it for episode 29. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.